Start, a college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm joined today by a man whose team won this week against a team that's not in its conference, but may feel slightly different about how his team's going to be in week two. Also, he needs a new quarterback. Cody Williams, content director, fansided.com. How the hell are you?
Man, it's been a long Saturday, been a long, 3 days. Week one, we got to stretch out over 5 days, of course, but doing good, man. Happy for the Heels win. Can't say it made me feel super confident in what's coming for North Carolina, but hey, we're here and we're rolling. But I think you might be feeling a little more confident about your team after today.
Yeah, I mean, we get fireworks, but you guys did. That was hilarious.
Oh my God. I think it's just the North Carolina fan base. They travel. We really went out to Minneapolis and had our own fireworks ready.
Even if you are in the triangle, you still got your Western Carolina roots there, setting off fireworks whenever you feel like it, or in New Mexico for you. Yes.
Dude, dude, New Mexico fireworks, let me tell you, I thought I had seen some stuff with the rednecks in North Carolina. It's nothing compared to what we got out here, man.
Lobos are actually doing something with the Arizona Wildcats, so that's
Yeah.
exciting. Yes, obviously we are coming to you semi live with False Start After Dark, and we're gonna do some 3 yards and a cloud of punt here after week one, like we said we would after the A&M Notre Dame game. Not a lot really to talk about that game. It was kind of boring, but like there were some good things there. I think these are two halfway decent teams, and A&M once again did what Jesse Palmer told me one time: don't ever trust them at all.
Yeah, I mean it was I just published a projected AP top 25. I still have Texas A&M in the top 25 even though they're the 20th ranked team. I think these are still two of the 25 best teams in the country. I think that the strength of both of these teams is on the defensive side of the ball. That's where I came down on it, and like when you have two teams playing where the strength is on the defensive side of the ball, you get a rock fight. That's what you get, and that's what we saw.
And we certainly don't have two first round quarterbacks playing in that game at all. Yeah, that was Connor Wegman looked like he played at A&M, and Riley Leonard became more unlikable after leaving Duke, which I didn't think was possible.
Yeah, somehow managed to accomplish the unaccomplishable. So, hats off to Riley Leonard for that.
But congratulations to Marcus Freeman. Hopefully he's gonna have some ice cream when he goes home to his carload full of kids.
Dude, I'm just happy that he had 11 guys on the field. That, real progress from
I know, man. 11 is more than 10, but less than 15. Yes, we fall start a little bit. First and 15 with 3 yards and a cloud of punt. I'm running. I'm running with my Georgia Bulldogs. They definitely look like the number one team in America. It was getting a little dicey there at halftime versus Clemson at the Big Body Benz, but like gravity, it always wins, man. That was really cool to see Georgia do what they did. But man, what a referendum it is on Clemson, man. Use the portal, Dabo.
just,
Just effing once, just use it.
just once, man. And then, like, after the game, Dabo comes out and he's like, hey, everyone has a right to say everything they're going to say about me, but, we're going to do what's best for Clemson. Well, it sure as hell doesn't look like it because Georgia absolutely beat your brains in Atlanta. Like, it was like, even when it was halftime and it was 6-0, it didn't feel close. Like, I'm sure it probably did for you as a fan who has like emotional investment in it. But me watching with no emotional investment, I was like, Clemson doesn't have a chance. Clemson can't move the ball. Cade Klubnik is not good. And then you're going up against a Georgia defense that looks like the Georgia defense that I think we saw 2, 3 years ago. Like this Georgia, like as good as I think Carson Beck is, as good as as much better as this offense is going to be when it gets Trevor Etienne back on the field. Like especially with what's the kid's last name? It's Nate, the freshman.
Nate Frazier, not Tate Frazier. Nate Frazier.
Nate Frazier.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, with Nate Frazier joining Trevor Etienne, like we know that Mike Bobo likes to run a multi-running back system with that offense. Like this is the number one team in the country, and I don't think it's particularly close after what I saw today.
No, I mean number two is probably Quinn Ewers' team with Texas after what I saw, but Colorado State's not Clemson. And to be fair, I thought Clemson's a lot. They have some players. They play really well on defense. I think Wes Goodwin's side of the ball is certainly promising, but man, Garrett Riley, you just have a last name, dude. Your side of the ball was
Yeah.
terrible. I liked Phil Maffa. And Cade Klubnik showed me a few things, like he's tough as nails, but man, he has no chance with just like the lack of players. And I'm surprised that like he finished the game. He was getting roughed up there pretty bad
Mhm.
towards the end there. Just we'll have more thoughts about the ACC here in a minute, but this was about Georgia. And I know like at the start of the game at halftime, you had a pitch out there at fanside.com. It's like, oh yeah, Georgia wants to fire Mike Bobo into the sun again. I mean, there's four words, four letters, letters, which is fire Mike Bobo. That was my whole entire undergrad at UGA. And good old bum chub Spencer Hall, who hates Georgia more than I hate being added on Slack, gathered that, and he had a craptastic afternoon here. We'll get to that in a second. Your team's awful, dude.
They're real bad, my brother. But no, like I don't think Mike Bobo is without criticism. I think that's fair to say. Like, I mean,
Right.
we've seen the Mike Bobo experience a lot, but like when you have this much talent, it's kind of hard to screw it up. And like I think the fact that that holds true even against a team like Clemson, whose strength is still their defense. Like, this isn't a referendum on the Clemson defense. This is what the Georgia offense is capable of with all of the playmakers they have all over this offense. Like, Mike Bobo is going to have moments where he frustrates the fan base. There's no doubt about that, especially college football fans who are just the most reactionary human beings that have ever lived or existed. But I do think, like, end of the day, Georgia's got the talent to get this done, and Mike Bobo, even if you think very little of him, he can't screw that up.
No, I think they were down a few players. Obviously, Trevor Etienne was suspended for cars, and then the defensive.
Carter.
I mean, just put that on there. Instead of like DNP flu-like symptoms, it's just cars. Speeding tickets. Just put that down there. That's a reason to keep people out. But Georgia was also down a defensive back too. I'm blanking on his name too, and that put KJ Bolden playing a little bit more. Malachi Starks is an absolute freak. That interception he did was basically reminiscent of the one he had on Oregon 2 years
Mhm.
ago. But
Yeah.
the big thing that I saw was like, you lost some players on offense. Okay, where's the Brock Bowers? Where's the Lad McConkeys? Well, Nate Frazier stepped up big time, and London Humphreys could absolutely fly. It was like,
Mhm.
I mean, it's like watching Tyreek Hill out there, but it's not Tyreek Hill out there.
He's not going to be mistaken for Tyreek Hill anytime soon. I can assure you of that. But no, like you're absolutely right. Like we as the game went on, we saw the playmakers step up. Like after the first half, people were asking those questions, but after the second half, no one's asking those questions now. We know who's stepping up into those roles. We know what this team is going to be. I think it is going to be a little bit more of a committee approach. I do think that's fair to say. Like I don't think you're going to have the necessarily the go-to playmakers that you had in Bowers and McConkey, but I do think that the sum of the parts is equal to what we had at Georgia. And honestly, that may be better for Georgia in the long run. The fact that it is a sum of parts situation. I think what stood out to me is, and when I was talking about the defense, I think what really stood out to me, you mentioned the secondary even being down a man, playing their tails off. The defensive front looks like it's back. And granted, it is Clemson's offensive line, which we've been quite critical of. One of the things that we really want Dabo to hit the portal for to get some help for this Clemson team. But like at the end of the day, we saw at times last year the Georgia front wasn't necessarily as dominant as we're used to seeing that group be. They were that dominant today. They were in Cade Klubnik's grill the entire game.
Yeah, Nazir Stackhouse played a great game. Michael Williams played very well on, and he got hurt obviously on a chop block by Phil Maffa. But again, it's like it's just so overwhelming. The offensive line is just a bunch of you and me's out there just trying to play their hearts out for little old Clemson. And I feel bad for their fans because it's like they're starting to realize like, yeah, this is we're not like they're not going to win a national title ever again under Dabo if he doesn't change, and he's going to keep doing himself until he's dead. This is false start.
Yeah, and if you want to check it out, the real figures and stuff like that, you can go to fansided.com. But we wrote a post about Dabo's buyout, and they're not getting away from him anytime soon because that's a $60 million buyout for these next 2 years, brother.
Yeah, I know that's they can't do NIL there, but he can still get paid. Man, what a hypocrite.
So I'm gonna run with our next topic here. Staying in the
Yeah,
ACC, and the one team in the ACC that looked pretty damn good, man. Miami Hurricanes just absolutely going down to the swamp and stomping a mud hole in Billy Napier, basically writing Billy Napier's pink slip for him, for being real honest. But I think the big story that we got to talk about this coming out of this is Cam Ward. Like I think that like you were obviously very high on him, higher than I was. When we talked about our ACC projections, you had him as the Heisman favorite. That was so long ago. I can't remember if I had him as the Heisman favorite. Probably close to it. But regardless, I still had some trepidation about Cam Ward, and they were Mario Cristobal problems. I didn't know if this team was going to live up to its talent. It absolutely did, because when we talk about Billy Napier and this Florida team and what their problems are going to be, it's attrition, really. You look at their schedule, the hardest in the country, and they just don't have the depth to keep up with that. And so this first game of the season, I thought they might be able to put up a fight against Miami, despite how talented Miami is, because of the constant underperformance that we see under Mario. That didn't happen. And the scary part about Miami living up to its talent in week one under Mario is this is probably the most talented roster we've seen in Miami since the early 2000s. I think that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, like we had that one really good like Mark Rick team, and you had a pretty promising Manny Diaz team there that kind of fell to the wayside in the end. But I had a feeling like Miami was my pick to win the ACC. I feel pretty good about that right now, but also Florida is
Yeah.
absolute hellacious ass. Like Billy Napier is like, I'd rather just get sunburned and lose all my skin than have to walk and talk to the media. You got a Dan Mullen like quote tweeting out Brandon Walker saying, "I can't believe they fired Dan Mullen for this guy."
Dan Mullen in his broadcasting career has become an absolute legend. Like he became one of my favorite coaches after he stopped coaching. So, whatever that means.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Cody Academy is doing a lot better with him there, and Florida's a lot worse. So it's like what happens after you leave tells a lot about what happens when you were there. But I had some doubts about Cam Ward in some capacity. The talent's always there. It was the same thing we saw at I think Incarnate Word. I think he may have played for GJ Kinney, or but like the overlap is pretty close. Maybe not quite there, but like obviously we saw what he did at Washington State. But you're like, okay, he could throw the ball a bunch. Is this just a bunch of just Cliff Kingsbury, Texas Tech 6-6 crap? Like, is this like
Mhm.
actually going to translate? But I think Shannon Dawson's in his bag. I think we probably failed to realize that this guy's like legit, and the Canes are going to be able to drive themselves. Like Mario, just they can literally tape his hands to like the wheel of a car and go 10-2.
Hey, shouts to James Franklin and Penn State picking up a big win today, as well. We're talking about 10-2, but no, absolutely. And I think like one of the other things I think I underrated is how good Xavier Restrepo is. My God,
Yeah,
dude. And, like anytime Miami needed a first down, needed a big play, it was like, hey, Restrepo, here you go. Here's the rock. And he made it happen. Like that dude's gonna have like a 12-year NFL career and just rack up 1,000 yards a season.
I know he'll be like the replacement for like Cooper Cup or something for like the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm watching this game. I think they had like a reverse or a fake play where he tried to throw a touchdown and he was mad because he just missed. It was wide open, but
It was a beautiful throw,
it was
dude. Like
pretty.
it was a great throw.
I know people are just collapsing down there at Bid Hill Griffin because it's the swamp. It's Florida. It's hot as ass. But I guess I'll say something about Miami and then I guess about Florida. We can kind of continue before maybe we go on to like our next topic. But like
Yeah.
with with Miami, it just feels like they're at such a talent advantage over everybody else right now in the ACC. And like I think that like obviously Florida has a lot of dudes too, and Billy Napier has been able to recruit, but at the same time, it's like Miami just we got to give Mario credit for being able to get the guys. They're now juniors and maybe redshirt sophomores being able to make a big impact there. It maybe took a little more time there. So maybe Miami has a little more depth than we give it credit for.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, is it going to be the Pacific Northwest Step Brothers? And you got like a Strepo, like who I'm still learning to say his name. And but yeah, he was cool, and he feels very Miami. And then as for Florida, man, like I felt bad for Graham Mertz. He got concussed. It was a
Mhm.
terrible pick. At this point, you just need to play DJ Lagway for the rest of the year and hold on for your dear life because this team's going to go 2-10. Like it was worse than I thought it was, and the worst part was like as I'm watching the game, they do Tom Petty, I won't back down. People are like singing and stuff. It was sadder than like Tennessee doing third down for what, turn down for what under Butch
Dude,
Jones.
it's the saddest I've ever seen anyone during a Tom Petty song. Like, and that's saying quite a lot. But my God, man, it was tough. Yeah, I think your point with Miami, like the depth was definitely stood out to me. Like they're not just Cam Ward, Damian Martinez, and Xavier Restrepo trying to get this done. Like that offensive line is good. That defense made Graham Mertz's life absolute hell. Frankly, I before Mertz got hurt, I was thinking that they should turn to DJ Lagway anyway, because we know what Graham Mertz is. We've seen this time and again. We know what this guy is, and there's a limited ceiling there. DJ Lagway, you don't know what this is, but the one thing I do know is this Florida offensive line was getting its ass handed to them the entire game, and DJ Lagway can move. Graham Mertz can't move. So like maybe get someone who can create a little bit with his legs in there. So, you know, speedy recovery to Graham Mertz. I hope he gets well. I'm never wishing injury upon anyone, obviously, but like I think like the one silver lining Florida might have moving forward is that Lagway is probably the better quarterback for this team moving forward. I still don't think that's going to lead to a whole lot of wins and a whole lot of success, but like it may look better than it did today.
No, like today for Florida, you could just see it in Billy Napier's face. He's like, I am so unbelievably cooked here. Like this is like take, sit in your car, turn the heat on, and just sweat through all of your clothes, and then just go burn all of your clothes and your entire wardrobe, and then completely reinvent yourself. That was that type of loss for Florida. I think that this was the saddest loss I've seen Florida have since the Georgia Southern game with Milt Muschamp, where the guys were blocking each other. They went like 4-8 that year. Like this is Florida. They win national titles here. This is the flagship university. This is my alma mater's arch rival. They shouldn't be this bad. And I understand that Miami is in its bag right here, but like I'd take FAU over Florida right now. I mean, South Florida would smoke them, dude.
Yeah, speaking of FAU, I think Florida's big problem is that they just have like the dark yellow piss. They're not passing the championship high level hydration levels right now, and so yeah, I think that's what's going on right now.
I know, man. I got they're not passing with this piss, and we're gonna pass on the next topic here. Unfortunately, I think your conference has had a really rough weekend for the most part. I think it's pretty clear, unlike this piss, like that the ACC is not going to get two teams into the playoff. It was really challenging across the board. We saw SMU struggle with Nevada, who's really feisty there under Jeff Cho. So give the Wolfpack a lot of credit there. But the NC State Wolfpack struggled with the Western Carolina Catamounts, and that was frustrating. Your boys were resilient, played in a tough game in a situation with like weather and stuff with Minnesota, but obviously Max Johnson's done for the year. Who's your quarterback now? I don't know, but I got to learn his name.
Connor Harrell, baby. Let's go. Connor Harrell season. We're ready.
Let's do it. Yes, Clemson obviously looked bad. We saw Florida State lose to Georgia Tech already. Georgia Tech kind of was playing with their food a little bit with Georgia State earlier in we went out to dinner with the Arizona State podcast. Georgia State, Georgia Tech, that rivalry is called the Marta Bowl.
Oh, I love that. First of all, shouts to Marta always. But yeah, you didn't even mention the biggest one that
Yes.
I like outside of Clemson. Shouts to Vandy. Shouts to our boy Clark Lee. Shouts to our pissing friend Diego Pavia for
Yes.
upsetting Virginia Tech. Look, I had Virginia Tech in the ACC championship game. Not feeling great about that, I can assure you. Kyron Drones in a negative game script did not look good. The defense, which one of my big keys for picking Virginia Tech to make it to the ACC championship game was the fact that they're returning 21 to 22 starters. If this is what the 21 of the 22 starters look like, I don't want that. That's horrible. Like Vanderbilt is better than they get credit for. They
Mhm.
are a bottom tier SEC team, but in terms if you were ranking the entire Power Four, they're probably like just slightly below mid tier. Like they're not that bad of a team, especially with the work that Clark Lee has done. Like that's why we're big fans of Clark Lee. They just have the disadvantage of playing in the SEC, but that should still be a team at the top of the ACC, which Virginia Tech was supposed to be in, should pretty easily handle. There's a reason they were 2 touchdown favorites, and they did not. They were playing behind the entire game.
It's amazing when you actually have a quarterback who knows what he's doing at Diego Pavia. Like it gives
Hmm.
Vanderbilt so much confidence. And I know Clark Lee is trying his best and Bart Simmons with his drink your water and his oat milk, just living his best life there. First Bank Stadium still not completely built yet. And but yeah, I didn't have Virginia Tech in the ACC championship, but I had them going 10-2. I had them as like one of my first four teams out. And Kyron Jones just wasn't about that. And honestly, I feel we feel like we kind of should have maybe given the satin kimono there instead of the definitely maybe to Brent Pye. I think we were gassing him up a bunch, and they did
Hmm.
not run to Lars in this game, dude. They rode the Lightning, and then they ended up fading to black versus Vanderbilt Nashville.
Dude, it's really tough. And yeah, like to the grander point of the ACC, like I mean, we talked about this and, previewing the season. I'm not high on the Big 12 or the ACC getting a second team in there. Like, I just don't really foresee it happening. But I am damn sure at this point, don't give ACC the automatic bid. Like, just don't do it. Like, no one wants to see that. Like, we talked about when we did our college football playoff brackets and we went through them, we both had the ACC champion losing. I had NC State losing, which I'm pretty confident would happen now, considering they couldn't beat the Catamounts or barely beat the Catamounts, excuse me. And like, I don't, I just don't like. It's tough for me as an ACC guy to watch this conference, which I've seen be great at times. Like even last year, before Jordan Travis went down, I absolutely believe Florida State, at its full strength, could have won a playoff game. There's no doubt in my mind that that was absolutely in the cards before, everyone quit on the team and they lost Jordan Travis. But I think like to watch the drop off from that to what we have in this conference this year, like you can make the argument that the only like or the most impressive thing that we saw out of the ACC in the first week zero and week one, first 1.5 weeks, I guess, of the season is Louisville beating Austin P by 62, which in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean a whole lot. But like, oh, sorry, outside of Miami, I should have said,
Yeah,
excuse me. But
it's
outside
cool.
of Miami, but like, it just looks like Miami and then a bunch of have-nots. That's what this looks like.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting there and I'm trying to think like, okay, who do we have like in the top half there of the ACC? And then like, Clemson and Florida State have already lost, and Virginia Tech has already lost, and everything like that. Miami looked pretty good. Okay, Georgia Tech, I had to make sure they confirm this. They did win the Marble Bowl 35-12, so maybe the Ramblin' Wreck are kind of there. But we haven't seen BC play yet, and Louisville looked good against Austin P. But what does that matter? And I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking with the ACC, like, I mean, who's even going to be good enough to play Miami like in Charlotte right now? Maybe it is the Ramblin' Wreck, dude.
It honestly might be. We don't know. And like, a team that you pegged as like a definitely maybe dark horse kind of team, we still have to watch them play Florida State on Monday. Boston College. Like I mean, if this Boston College team is steady under Bill O'Brien, that might be enough to get there. Like we really don't know because the early returns on this conference are that, frankly, like, you call Florida hellacious ass. This entire conference outside of Miami looks like hellacious ass.
Yeah, salacious ass. That's my new favorite descripting adjective. I mean, it's an adjective and a noun. It's a word I can't spell and a part of the body I can definitely spell because it's three letters and two of them are the same.
That's right, baby. We're we right, but not really.
I mean, if we made an anagram for false start, ass would definitely have to be used in there somewhere.
Oh yeah. Ass tart.
Ass, elf ass tart. I don't know if that works, but it sounds good. Like, yeah, dude. But as we know that the ACC is not looking great, sweetie. We are going to punt, which basically means like we're going to hold. We don't know yet. We're just going to defer later. We don't have enough of a sample size to really know who's going to be a Heisman contender and who's not. I mean, I will say though, Ashton Genty there just running for like 300 yards and 6 touchdowns versus Georgia Southern. Yeah, he's probably just bitter he didn't get a scholarship to go play at USC when Clayton Helton was there, dude.
Yeah, probably not, but my God, man. Yeah, we talked like when we did our group of five preview, we basically kind of framed the Heisman conversation in the G5 as Ashton Genty in the field. Like that's
Yeah,
kind of how it got framed, and that was fully confirmed today. But yeah, like you look at guys throughout the country that we had kind of on our Heisman radar. You look at an Avery Johnson from Kansas State. It was kind of up and down. He had some troubles there. Nico Iamaleava had a great game for Tennessee. Set a single half passing record for Tennessee in the first half with what he did against Chattanooga. But he did it against Chattanooga. So what really does that mean? Like, how much stock are we going to put into that? I'm putting a little stock into it because he looked
yeah.
like a perfect fit for Josh Heupel's offense. But we do need to see it against better competition. And there's someone else I'm totally forgetting. Who am I forgetting?
Riley Leonard had a challenging game there with,
Hmm.
but again against his former head coach on the other sidelines at his place. So I mean, I get that
Yeah.
too.
And he got the win too.
He did.
Another one that struggled, Dylan Gabriel. Like
Hmm.
he eclipsed the 300-yard mark, but he only threw for one touchdown. Oregon struggled with Idaho. We're not really mentioning that right now, but that didn't see that one coming. Didn't have that one on the radar. But like, Dylan Gabriel is the Heisman favorite coming in. He's probably, if you look at the odds now, I'm not looking at them currently, but like he's probably not the Heisman favorite anymore. But like it's 1 week, man. Like at the end of the day, he threw for over 300 yards, didn't make any big mistakes. Oregon won. We could be looking back at this as a blip on the radar, and we could be doing that for all of these guys. So like I'm not really willing to write anyone out of the Heisman race based on 1 week. Maybe Kate Klubnik. I might be really willing
Yeah.
to do that. But like outside of that, like any like serious contender, I'm not willing to write off yet. Although, like, I do think, like, the one caveat I will say is I do think some players, like an Ashton Genty, like a Cam Ward, did kind of create a little early breathing room, maybe. I think is probably the best way to say that. Like, I don't think Carson Beck had the statistical day to necessarily put him in that conversation yet, but he definitely helped himself more than he hurt himself.
Right. Yeah, it was definitely like Cam Ward and Ashton Jinty who probably had the two best days, all things considered. Jinty, it's a running back, and I mean, and again, it's
Hmm.
G5 on G5. Southern's usually a pretty good program there in the Sun Belt, and I get that. And he needed to do that. He needed to be a big time performer to lead the Broncos to victory. With Beck, it was kind of like he got better as the game progressed and stuff. He went up against a pretty good defense there in Clemson, and then they still scored 34 points. But
Hmm.
I mean, outside of Ward, it's just like it really you have to see people going up against good competition. Obviously, we'll probably have a better feel for what Nico Iamaleava wants to do next week when they play NC State, but NC State also might be bad. So we don't really know. But
It's true.
also speaking of bad, man, Texas is gonna absolutely dog walk Michigan next week. Like
Oh my God.
they're gonna put him on a leash. Oh, was this a shock to you? I saw this like on a headline. I'm like, okay, looking for segments to kind of talk about for this abbreviated episode of 3 yards and a cloud of punt here on Fall Start. But like, I'm like, wait, Orgy's not starting? Are you serious?
Dude, it was bad. The like I've I talked about it being a rock fight between Texas A&M and Notre Dame. Michigan's offense is like rock fighting with itself. It's just bashing its own head with a rock. Like that's what that offense looks like. It is. Will Warren got the start at quarterback and not confident in that either. Like Alex Orgy, I'm pretty sure cannot throw the football. Otherwise, he would be starting because of his mobility. But it's going to be a problem. And I think we're going to see it really come to form next week. Like, yeah, they won by 20 against Fresno State. Congratulations. Their defense is still damn good. And we knew that. Like, one of my biggest confirmations coming out of this week is Michigan is exactly who I thought they were. They are exactly the team that we projected them to be, the exact team that we think is going 8-4. And I know we had some commenters who were on the channel who were talking about, I can't believe you're thinking Michigan's going 8-4. Did you watch this game? Because if you did and you don't think that they're in danger of going 8-4, then I don't know what's you need to go to the eye doctor, go to the optometrist.
For sure. And you also have to remember this with Fresno. So Fresno's playing in the big house. And Jeff Tedford like abruptly retired basically because of medical issues. So and
Yeah.
again, Fresno is a pretty good program there in the Mountain West, but they're not supposed to win or at least keep it close. And that's a program that's in a bit of transition here. But again, I don't know. I don't know what we know yet at this point. All I know is Michigan's not gonna repeat in the Big Ten. And I don't know if Ohio State's really as good. Will Howard kind of left me there's some meat in that bone. We're going to probably unpack that a little bit more on Monday, which
Mhm.
we thought about putting that here in this segment, but we need a little more time.
We need a little more time. I've got a hot take brewing for Monday that you're gonna want to tune in to see because it's either gonna just infuriate everyone or make me beloved by Ohio State fans. One of the two.
That's great. You got the closing thoughts before we wrap up the abbreviated show today, Cody.
Yeah, so like I think that you root for chaos in week one. I think that's kind of the general feel. And like you talked about it, coming on like I think hey, I don't even it's been 30 minutes, but I don't remember if it was pre-show at the beginning of the show. But we talked about, we thought some of these games are going to get a little wonky here at the end, and they didn't, ended up turning out pretty expected results. The higher ranked team won. But I still think there was a fair amount of chaos to kind of set the tone, whet the appetite for what's to come in this college football season. Because I think a lot of what we thought we knew going into the season was kind of proven wrong through week 0 and week 1. And that excites me. Like, that makes me like, I don't mind being wrong. I really don't. I don't have, like, I'm not someone who has like a obsessive need to be right. I like, sticking to my guns and whatnot. But like, I think the only two things that I truly feel confident in that I was right about coming out of this week are Georgia's good and Michigan's mid. And that's it. Otherwise, I don't know.
I would probably say the same things too, and then also the Cam Woods is stellar there
Mhm.
too. But I guess kind of to piggyback on your point though, like, there's just so much chaos going on. I think it's just like this is the high I chase every year. I try to tell all my minute media colleagues like this is the best dumbest thing on earth. I chase this every day. Like I'm writing about some stupid baseball article I don't care about, but like I want to see this, and that's fine. That makes numbers and everything. But like I'm sitting here and I'm like, gosh, I just want to follow along. I just root for these 18 to 26 year olds trying to figure this out. But with so much change going on right now with conference realignment, that's only going to accelerate this stuff. I mean, like teams that may have been good in one league, you know, we don't know how Arizona is going to adapt in the Big 12. Just like we have no idea how Oklahoma is going to do in the SEC or SMU in the ACC or what USC in the Big Ten. We have no earthly idea, but what we do know is you can follow me, Sean. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter at the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams on the X or Twitter at the Sizzle20. Yes, Fall Start After Dark is really just it's I don't know what I'm gonna
We're both
say.
exhausted, dude. We're just like running on absolute fumes. It's great.
We've both been working since like 7 a.m. both like in our time zones. Got done dog sitting. This dog had stomach problems the whole week, and that was great.
Yeah, our
Um,
washing machine's not like fully functioning, and so we've been trying to do laundry all day. It's not been working, so that's been fun. It's been great.
yeah, apartment didn't have the AC on because we were away for like a week, and now it's still hot here, and that's how that's going. First night with the new AC in the bedroom that actually works, and thank you, repairman. You can also follow the show on CFB Fall Start, like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Yes, we will be coming to you on Labor Day. It works out for us. We'll be doing something on Thursday, and we still haven't figured out where we're going to be going with Antonio. He still probably got some thoughts here about Oklahoma State here. Pretty quiet, pretty chill there for him. I think I did see him eat a jackrabbit because I'm like, you have to cook that thing too. And he's just like, bulldog.
He said bulldog, and then he said my precious, so I'm worried that he's turning into Gollum eating these raw rabbits, but we'll see what happens.
Dude, the fact that Gollum's name stems from like the noise he makes when he swallows is just that blew my mind.
I mean, it's a very Antonio characteristic, honestly.
That'd be like naming somebody PFT, and that's just the sound they make because he just farts a lot. And I guess one last thing I'll say before we wrap up the show. We have decided, it is decided, like the league, where we're going to be going next week. Yes, we're going to be coming to you after Tennessee, North Carolina State, and Bank of America Stadium there and Charlotte. So that's going to be a great game. Hopefully, it's a little bit better, or maybe more points than we saw with Texas A&M and Notre Dame. That was still a good game. It might also suck. We don't know yet.
I mean, Tennessee might double up the total of Notre Dame, Texas A&M by themselves, considering that NC State allowed 21 points to Western Carolina.
I know he's going to have Dave Doran. Josh Heupel is going to have Dave Doran sweating in his Letterman's jacket.
He's gonna stuff him in a locker like a good like 80s high school bully that he is.
Don't you forget about me. And this is false start.